What's going on, road runners? It's your boy C-Dub coming at you guys with an update for the 2020 commentated videos. This year we're going to be doing shorter videos with highlights, and what you're about to see is CBR number 1. The two videos that you're going to see within this one video is the category 4-5 race, followed by the Masters 3-4 race. Sit back, relax, and enjoy a new style of commentated video from your boy C-Dub, aka Whit. Peace. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? So as I said, it's going to be a new style of commentated video, and as you see right now, the race has just begun. So of course I'm trying something different, and I may not have all of the names right now, just because I'm trying to do this one step at a time. But right here you see we are doing the category 4-5 race, and this is going to be the first lap. And so of course, as you see here, where everybody's, of course, is antsy, it's the first race of the year, everybody is excited, and this is of course the first lap. And so we are all excited, and everybody's trying to find their place. We're trying to find out what the order of this race is going to be, the characteristics of it. And so right now you see me sitting, in between riders, again, mainly staying out of the wind because we are between turns number 1 and turns number 2. And right now, if you look up at the screen, you will see that we are going through turn number 2 right now. So of course you see me, I'm sitting in the lower left-hand corner of the screen. And the reason for that is because I've changed saddles, and currently I haven't figured out if my saddle camera holder will work with the saddle that I'm riding right now, the Harz saddle. But from looking at it, it may work. But of course, this was the first race of the season, and so we'll see what happens for future commentated videos. But for right now, hopefully you guys like this platform, and please let me know down below in the comment section below if you like this setup. You don't see what's going on behind me, but yet you can actually get some live view of what I'm saying, as well as seeing me talk to you guys as we watch this and go through this video together. So right now, just tucked in, again, we are between turns number 3 and 4, and there's about like a 1.5% little bump between turns number 3 and 4. So right now you see I'm just sitting in. We got Go Fast to my right, we got Fitter to my left, and we're going through turn number 4. And so now we're making our way to the start finish. And of course this video is going to be shorter with highlights, and also this video is going to be covering 2 races, as I mentioned earlier. So this video is going to be chopping through the first and second race. So hopefully you guys like this platform, and please again let me know down in the comment section below. This is now we're finishing our first lap. And so now you see me going through the turn, just sitting on the right hand side of Pinwheel Bikes, and you also see there was almost a crash there. I'm not sure if that individual actually caused a wreck, as you see him went across my screen. But right here, I put this part in because this is me avoiding a crash, but at the same time having to go with over 1,000 watts to jump back on and get reconnected with the Peloton. And so if this is your first time watching a Whit video, this is the first time of me doing it this way. If you like it, please hit that thumbs up button. If you have not subscribed, I ask that you would subscribe. And pretty much I'm just sharing the journey of life behind bars, looking to impact communities and reshape lives. That's what I'm here doing. And I'm just trying to put the word out and spread the love about cycling. So right now I have been reconnected back with the Peloton, and we are going through the start finish. And so now right here, what you're going to see me doing is we're coming through the start and finish again. But this part I want to highlight with me going on the outside and moving up with Paddock Racing Team. And so this is just ways in how you can progress up through the Peloton by jumping on team trains that are moving around and finding individuals that are motivated and that are excited to move up in the Peloton. And so this is why I highlighted this part right here in this category 4-5 race. And so right now we're coming through turn number 1, and you see me still sitting on Marty's wheel, and now I'm backing off Marty's wheel because I see Johnston and those are 2 PRT riders up. He's making his way back to the group, so I went ahead and jumped off of Marty's wheel, and then pretty much I'm integrating myself back with the main group of riders or the Peloton. So right now we're just tucked back in. I believe I have Einer here to my left, but I'm trying to stay on the inside out of the wind. So of course it just jumped again. We're going through turn number 3, And what I'm doing here is I'm on the outside. And what this is showing you is that before the race, if you haven't seen my how to prepare physically and mentally for a race, one of the things that I mentioned in that video was watching video. And so from me watching some of my previous Dominguez Hills races, as well as some of the other riders' videos, I also found out that there's, of course, in every race, typically there's a wind direction. And so as you see now, we've gone through turn number 4, and we're going into a headwind. So the wind is blowing from the top of the course to the bottom of the course. And so what you see me doing here is between turn number 3 and 4, I was on the outside of the course next to the cones, going over the bumps in the road, the reflectors. We're coming through the start finish right now. And then what you'll see me do as we go through turn number 1, I'm going to start to adjust myself back to the inside, because I'm getting the riders to my outside are going to be protecting me from the wind. And so you're going to see that right now as I'm on Brandon Poser's wheel. So right now you see me, I'm starting to make the shift. I'm kind of backing off of Brandon's wheel, and now you see me starting to migrate myself back to the inside of the course as we're in between turns number 1 and 2. When we go through the turn, go after turn number 2, we're going to have a tailwind, which of course that's usually when the pace picks up because the wind is blowing us from behind. And so that's what you saw me do there. Between turns number 3 and 4, I was on the outside. Between turns number 1 and 2, I was on the inside. All right, we just jumped again. And what this is showing is just us, we're hammering, and this is showing me moving up on the inside and again passing people. So this time I'm not necessarily following a team, I'm just following an individual rider who is progressing himself up through the peloton, and I'm just following him. So I went underneath, and of course sometimes you have to use the long line to do that, or you can use the shorter line to do that as well. So you just have to kind of get a feel for the peloton, get a feel for what's going on in the race, and of course keep your head on the swivel, most importantly keeping your head forward, but sometimes looking over your left and over your right shoulder just to see what's coming and what's going on within the peloton. So right now you see me, I'm sitting on Irvin's wheel of Pat's 605, I believe. He's on a new team. He was on Breakaway Cycling last year. He's joined up with a new team this year, and again, Irvin is always a person to watch because he's always trying to break away. And so you see right there, we got Big Orange to the left. And so right now I'm just tucked in, standing under the wind as we're going through turn number 4, or excuse me, turn number 3. Turn number 3, if you're going clockwise, is a very finicky turn. It's turn number 2 if you're going counterclockwise, simply because there's a U ditch in the midst of the turn. And so as you saw, the guy almost crashed earlier in the video. That turn gives a lot of people you know, they really have to pucker up for that turn because it's got that bump in the road. So right now you see me just sitting in the middle of the group. Again, the reason for this is just me staying out of the wind, staying protected, keeping people around me, because again, we're piercing through the air. And so if I stay in the middle of people, what that causes the airflow to do is to go around me, thus causing me not to have to exert so much wattage. Even though, as you see right below my face right now, you see my cadence, you see the speed, you see how many beats per minute my heart is going, as well as you see the power that I'm putting out. And as you're going through turn number 4 to turn number 1, through the start and finish, that is a slight little incline. So typically in that area of the course, you probably will see the most exertion of wattage, anywhere from 200 up to over 1,000 watts being expended in that portion of the course. What you also notice right now is you see that my heart rate is 169, just went up into 170, and roughly, as I've mentioned to a lot of the viewers before, if my heart rate's in 170 in a racing type atmosphere, that's pretty much good. I'm really good and recovered. And so right now you see I'm sitting on the inside of the course, again because the wind is blowing from my left, and so I'm just staying on the inside. To include, that is the shortest line around this course. So right now, just staying on the inside, I moved up a little bit, and now you see the pace is picking up right now. We're going 29, 30 miles an hour, and we are just making our way. It just jumped again, and so what you see me sitting on rider's wheel, coming off of the draft, allowing that momentum to carry me and start to move up. But as I moved up, this rider right here, the Levi rider, he saw me moving up, so he came up underneath me, or on the outside of me moving up, so he was anxious, he was ready, so I backed up off of that, let him come over the top of me, and I just jumped on his wheel as he was progressing up, and then I jumped back on Nick's wheel. This guy right here who I'm sitting behind with the black kit, this is Nick of Team 6, and I was watching Nick because he pretty much kind of broke away last time and then stayed away and actually caught another, like he got caught, but then he went and caught a breakaway. It was very, very strong riding. So I was watching him in this race because I wasn't sure what legs he had brought to the race today. So right now, again, you see me now sitting on the inside, and we're in between turns number 3 and turn number 4. And this is the shortest, fastest line. So you see me again progressing up to the front. And right here, as we're coming close to, this is pretty much lap number 2 right here. And so what you're going to see now is what caused me to burn a match. So right now you see 721 of Boost Cycling. He's going, but you also see Nick in front of him, and there's a gap there. So there's a little bit of gap in front of me. I'm closing that gap down, but the gap in front of him is growing. And so Nick is in that breakaway again. So what do I have to do? I have to go over 500 watts to try to close this gap down as we come through the start and finish, as you see last lap. So for me doing this on the second or the last lap, that was not the place to be doing this if I was to contend for a top 10, even a podium spot. So here you see people coming around me because now my heart rate is 186. I'm dying, still pushing out over 500 watts, trying to tuck back in, hoping I can recover before we get to turn number 3 and even turn number 4, that I can even contend for a finish. And I was suffering. It was very, very hard. And so as you see here, I'm consistently getting past, and it sucked. It was not cool. But I eventually found a roadie that I was able to kind of get in and tuck in behind right here. You see I started to kind of get back on it as we go through this turn. Wasn't the cleanest of turns. The UCSD guy kind of came in. I was going out. So that was just a really bad turn number 2. But you see here, the tempo was up. We're going 31 miles an hour. My heart rate is 186, so it did come down a little bit. But you see, I am consistently putting out over 400 watts, and I'm hurting. Like, I'm still with the group, but there's a sprint coming. This is the last lap, and we got 2 turns to go. So, of course, 1, I'm like, don't crash. But 2, it's like, man, I want to do good in this race. And so you see here, the tempo is staying up. And again, we're between turns number 3 and 4 right now, and there's a little bump in the road, and got to go over the bump in the road, and again, my legs are just hurting. And you see here, my heart rate is at 183, and you see I'm just consistently getting past. And of course, that didn't feel good. We got not Adrian, but we got people just coming underneath me, coming over the top of me. And then you hear in a minute, you're going to see Einer from PRT. He's going to come sprinting past me. And I tried to sprint as I'm sprinting right now, but then I realized how many people had already passed me, and it didn't make any sense for me to try to sprint for 50th place. I'd rather be safe and finish the race and be able to do the second race, which you're going to see here very soon. All right, so here we go. Now we're at the men's masters category 3-4 race, and I'm sitting in the front of the group. And hey, it kind of was weird being at the front of the peloton, or being at the front of the starting line with not really having anybody behind me to kind of mark. But what you see right here is you see that immediately off the gun, we got a big orange person off the go. Like he's already through turn number 1, and we got Wes Morgan right here, which is his teammate. So I realized at this moment that Big Orange was playing tactics in this race, and I applaud them. I applaud them for doing that, because that was, for a person who's tactical minded and who looks at tactics, what you see the pros, the Cat 1-2s doing, this was beautiful. So right now you see West number 813 right here of Big Orange. He's just noodling. We're going 25 miles an hour, and this part right here is downhill. But then I looked to my left and looked behind me, and I was in a sea of Big Orange. I literally was in orange juice right now. Like, I was like, I'm vitamin C'd up. I'm good to go. But the thing was I was not going to attempt to try to bridge over to one of their riders over that was already off the front. Why? Because one of those guys would have jumped on my wheel. I would have toted him over. Now there'd have been 2 Big Orange against 1. So right now you see Wes Watanabe. He's going underneath trying to bridge over. Now you see guys starting to chase. And then what you're going to now see do is Big Orange start reacting to these efforts that are made, because they want more of their riders in the breakaway if it's going to happen. Even though the first breakaway that typically goes is not the breakaway that sticks, but if you get far enough off the front, it may hold to the end. And this race was 40 minutes, so you never know. So right now you see me kind of noodling behind another Big Orange rider, just watching him to see if he was going to tote me across to his teammates, or if they would get tired and we would reconnect here momentarily. But that didn't look like it was happening. So you see riders now starting to go across. They're bridging over to the chase group that has Big Orange in it as they are going to chase down the breakaway guy. You see John going. You got all these riders going. So right now underneath me you have Elijah Baker and in the Assos kit. And so you see him, and he, as soon as he came underneath me, I was like, this is the perfect wheel to follow. So I jump on his wheel and I'm following Elijah, because I realized if anybody's going to get across that, he probably is going to be a person to get across it, since I know he came into this race season very hungry for excellence. And of course, you guys will find out about that at the end of the race. And so, of course, got connected with him and we reconnected with the group. So again, here we just jump to another shot, and you see me, I am behind Elijah. And what you're going to see me do here is my momentum, I went outside a little bit more than what he did, but you see my momentum. I'm pushing out over 500 watts here, and I'm taking the gutter. So I'm kind of going up through the gutter to progress up through the peloton, just to move up so that I'm not sitting in the back of the group. Like in this race, the Masters 3-4 race, you don't want to be in the back of the group. And I've learned that with the lower category races, you can tail gun and then move up later. But in the higher category races, you don't want to do that. Now, mind you, any race that you tail gun in, you put yourself at stake of getting caught behind a crash. But from watching a lot of races, watching a lot of footage, I've kind of figured out how that thing is starting to work. So we'll see if that pays off for 2020. But right now you see me sitting behind John Cunningham of Factory Built. And the reason why I sit behind him, and you see now we got 3 teammates Factory Built going across the board like a tic-tac-toe 3 in a row. We got Brandon on the inside. I'm not sure who the guy is on the left there, but we got 3 Factory Built guys right here. And the reason why you'll see me sitting behind John is because John is probably like 6'7". I mean, look how high his bike is compared to some of these other riders. Like his saddle is where their heads are, and they're on their bike. So John is a super tall individual, and so you saw me tuck behind him because he's a larger rider, and I was able to get a nice draft behind him. Now you see me sitting behind Mike Shaw of Courier Cycling, which another good buddy of mine, Mark, rides with, who's not racing this year. So Mark, again, hopefully we see you at the races this year at some point, brother. But anyway, I'm sitting behind Mike Shaw because I ride with Mike locally. As you see Ronnie Chalk now trying to bridge over, but I sit behind Mike Shaw because I know that Mike Shaw is a very strong rider. And I believe he did the pure category 3 race and he was broken away. So I realized he got some legs. He's a very strong rider. So I said, if there's anybody for me to sit behind right now, a good person to sit behind is Mike Shaw. As you see right here, John Cunningham coming over the top of us as we come through the start finish. So again, just sitting here and just staying in the draft. And so what you see me doing here is as I come to turns, I watch people like, is it worth fighting for that wheel in a turn, knowing that the most sketchiest portion of a race is in the turns. So what I did there, even though I said I want to try to stop doing, but sometimes you being tired and worn out dictates what you do. I left a little gap so the boost cycling guy could come in so I could just jump on his wheel. So right now you see I'm sitting in a plethora of strong riders. We got Elijah Baker, we got Ronnie Chalk, we got Wes Watanabe, we got Mike Shaw, we got John Cunningham, all around me right now. So I am sitting in a perfect spot as Wes tells me to, scoot over because we're coming through the start finish. I wanted to highlight this part because you got to know your riders and who you're riding around, hopefully, so that you know who's going to make it. And I knew that Wes was going to move. As you see, Wes Watanabe going up underneath to move up closer to the front because Wes, from my observation, Wes is very punchy and he can make those moves, as you saw earlier in the race, how he was going after that breakaway. And so now we just jumped over to another one. So this is just me showing, again, utilizing my momentum because I am a larger rider. Utilizing, again, look at my wattage. It's very, very low, but you saw me there use no more than 200 watts moving up. And so right here you see Mike Starr moving up very, very fastly. So you see me sitting just off to about the 5 o'clock of Ronnie Chalk, and we're coming underneath. And so Ronnie Chalk is putting power on the pedals. You see me here hitting over 300, now 400, 500 watts. And you see Ronnie Chalk is pushing. If you looked at the Rancho ride, Ronnie Chalk is a very strong rider as well. And you see there's a portion of that video where he was leading me out and I jumped on his wheel. So I took that memory into, and brought it to realization again. I just jumped on Ronnie Chalk's wheel as he brought me back up to the group as we go through turn number 3. And so the 3-4 race was a little bit more animated for me due to the fact that it was a Masters race, because most of these guys were in my age bracket, and so it just made for a smoother ride. And that's one thing that I've learned is that the older races or the Masters races, they're just smoother. They're just as competitive, but they're just smoother. And so you see me sitting here next to Elijah Baker as we're sitting behind Ronnie Chalk, as we're sitting behind Mike Starr, Wes Watanabe, and the list goes on and on. So some of the riders I know by name, not all of them yet, but we're going to get there. So right now, just sitting on Elijah's wheel, and he told me to jump on. And so right now, he tells me to jump on, as you saw him pat his butt. So I'm sitting on Elijah's wheel as he's sitting on Ronnie Chalk's wheel, and we're coming up, I believe, with like 2 laps to go, or this is the last lap. So he told me, get on. It's about to go down. So this is the last lap of the Masters 3-4 race. So I'm sitting just to the inside of him because there was a guy that actually that was on his wheel, and I've raced with that individual before, and I just was keeping my eyes on him. And so again, you see there we got big orange in the video, and we're progressing. You see my heart's at 179. We're going 27 miles an hour, and you know, pretty much easy pedaling. I'm doing over 400 watts, just staying in the mix of this. So right here is when I start to really lose Elijah's wheel, because I knew that the guy was to my left, and I knew that kind of how this looks like I have room to get there, but I have somebody right to my left. And so I didn't want to push him into the curb or anything like that, so I just backed up off of it and let him have it. And so what I did was I just kind of just watched where I was at, and then Ronnie Chalk pops in my view. So when Ronnie Chalk popped in the view, I jump on Ronnie's wheel. And then I got Wes Watanabe here, and I know that when Wes was a Cat 4, Wes Watanabe was consistently winning Cat 4 races. And so you see there, Wes is on the inside of me, and then he's out the saddle and he's moving up. Then I got Mike Starr here, and these 2 guys are teammates. So I said, what better train to be on that's moving up in their teammates? So I jump inside to jump on Mike Starr's wheel, which brings me back up to where Elijah Baker is, and as well as Wes Morgan, who's sitting on the front right there. And so and then we got Impact Cyclist guy sitting behind Elijah, but you see me jump. So I jumped because that was a location I wanted to jump at to see if I was willing and was able and capable to do it. So I jumped, I looked to my left, I realized I didn't really make much of an advance, but at the same time, it put me in a position where I was able to make it through the last turn 8th, but then Mike Starr came underneath, put me at 9th. Then this the boost guy came over the top of me, put me at 10th. As we're coming through the start finish of the Masters race, your boy was able to hold it and get 10th place. In the 4-5 race, I got 46th of 75. In the 3-4 race, I got 10th, and now your boy is capable and eligible to cat up to category 3. Am I going to do it? You're going to have to sit back and find out about that later. But again, beautiful people, thank you again for watching this vid. Please comment, like, subscribe. On to the next one with your boy, C-Duck, a.k.a. Crit Whit. Peace.